busts. The name conjures up images of, well, you know what it conjures up images of. Nikola Vucevic. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. You can find me on Twitter as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50 plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. I probably should do this, and I don't really do it much, because these sleeper and bust shows is what drives people in to watch. Hey, welcome. Good to see you for the first time. What do? Well, I do tons of stuff. During the season, you get multiple shows per day, recaps of games. Basically, as the final game ends, the show goes up. We do waiver wire shows, injury reports, stock up, stock down. So much fantasy basketball stuff for category and points leagues. What else do? I work at Basketball Monster, which is a site that projects stats for fantasy basketball, category leagues, points leagues, auctions, snakes, whatever you want to do. We have everything over there. We've introduced some new metrics this season, some dynasty stuff as well. Robust forums, player discussions. That's what I do. So if you are new and you're just seeing this show, or you're just getting into fantasy basketball, welcome. I believe that I'm going to have everything for you this season. So much stuff that we cover all the way through. So, welcome. Now, if you are new, and the old guys who have been around for a while, they know what I'm going to say. When we talk busts, it's bullshit. It's garbage. This term is nonsense. It's ridiculous. There's so much value in so many players, and it all can be manipulated in the right way. We look at players, well, this guy is going to be 60th, and I think he's the 70th best player. What a bust. It doesn't work that way, right? It's just so hard when you get down in draft boards. The differences between the player at 30 and the player at 90 might be 8 fantasy points. It might be the difference of 0.2 steals and 0.7 assists in a category league. Fluctuations are gigantic so much of the time. It's about finding the right statistical profile, shape, opportunities, and getting the guys in. Now, in saying that, what I tried to do here, we're talking busts. We go through ESPN, we go through Yahoo. I looked at their ADPs and their rankings, and I looked at how that compared to my rankings. By the way, this is for category leagues. Points league guys, you're going to have one of these coming in 4 or 5 days. This is category league busts. Actually, no, you won't, because there was a points league bust video about a week or 10 days ago, but you will get something else coming, don't worry. So I looked at my own projections and rankings, and because we're focusing mainly on head-to-head category leagues, not roto, because that's such a small pie, head-to-head category leagues, I have my own thing, which is the -1 rankings. I have some weightings on that, and I look to see that which players are off versus where I see them by at least 24 ranking spots. At least 24. That is how I'm determining what a bust is. And by bust, it just means, I don't think I'm going to take these guys at these spots. But, as you'll see with some of the names and some of the mock drafts that I've done, I do draft some of these players. Because it all depends on what I'm looking for and in what spot of the draft and who I've picked ahead of them. And even though I might have them 24 spots below that ADP, if that guy then slides 5 positions and I desperately need his stat set, I push him up 10 spots, I grab him, bang, it's done. I hope all of that makes sense. Fantasy basketball, in whatever format you play, is never as straightforward as this guy is 60th, this guy is 61st, therefore the 60th guy is better than 61st. That doesn't work. That is not how it goes. And we have to have a lot of nuance and a lot of thought around it. In saying that, if you draft these guys, you'll never win a single thing in your life. You might as well just give up. Let's talk about it. Let's go to Yahoo. Let's look at some busts on Yahoo. Safe search off. All right. We will start. Of course, we're going to start with these two. Why wouldn't I start with these two? Let's go to Toronto. Because I hate Canada. because I hate Toronto, and more importantly, because I hate the two of those things together and the franchise that embodies everything that I detest. We're going to talk Toronto Raptors. And we're going to look at Pascal Siakam, who has an ADP of 29 on Yahoo and an X rank of 28. And I'm sorry to tell you, I don't like that. I think that it is too high. Yes, Fred VanVleet is gone. This is true. It is true. There is absolutely no debating that it is true. But I don't care. Taking Siakam, remember, average draft position also means you go higher or lower. Taking Siakam around there just doesn't make sense to me. You lack steals and blocks quite a bit. And one of the big things we know, and Darko Rajakovic came out and said that, yeah, we sort of do believe in depth and we're going to play 10 guys, when Nurse would play 7. So those 38, 37 minutes a night Siakam was playing won't be 37 or 38. I feel very confident in saying that. The lack of steals and blocks hurts. The free throw percentage can be iffy. He doesn't hit threes. I'm just not investing in that guy in that spot. Plus, the vibes seem horrendous with him in the front office. Is he going to be traded? I have no idea. It's just a lot of uncertainty. To me, Siakam is a 4th round sort of player. And when I say rounds, I am going to default to 12. I wish everyone played 12-10 leagues, but I get that you don't. So he's in the mid-40s to mid-50s in my mind. And that doesn't justify picking at 29 or X-rank 28. Sorry. Let's go to Chicago, another team that I despise because I used to be a fan of the Bulls, but now I hate them with a passion. Just in case you are new, none of that's true. I don't hate any teams or countries or anything. But whenever you say something critical, like people think I hate the Pistons, whenever you say something critical about a team or try to be realistic, that's how fandom works. But anyway, I do hate Vooch. He's got an ADP of 38 with an X rank of 51. Now, you will notice that when I did a mock draft 2 days ago, I took Vooch. I took him in round 5, around that 51, maybe at 53 I think it could have been. Because I just really needed what he brought. I needed some really good rebound numbers, which he brings with some okay scoring, a good efficiency. And that was strong. But I am really very concerned about Vooch as an overall player, especially as a 3rd round guy, which is where he gets drafted sometimes. Last season, his usage dropped. His minutes dropped over the final 3 months of the season. He was only able to maintain value by upping his efficiency to a number that he'd never been anywhere close to. And he's past the drop-off point of age 29, so he's on the decline. And every year away you get from that, the more risk there is of a complete drop-off. I don't think Andre Drummond's taken things away from him. But what if Kobe White starts, and what if Patrick Williams starts and takes a step forward? Does Vooch become the 4th offensive guy? What if the efficiency falls away? And I don't care that he played all 82 games last season. It means absolutely nothing. He's had many injuries in the past. He's a 33-year-old big man as well. I'm just not doing it. I'm out on Vooch. Again, within reason. I took him in round 5. I'm okay with that. I don't rank him there at the moment, but I am okay with it because we've got to be fluid. We've got to be ready to adjust. We've got to be bendy. Bendy, what a word. I should have put these two guys together because I hate Scott Barnes as well. I don't, but I just think it's a little bit high, especially Scotty Barnes has an X rank of 44 on Yahoo with an ADP of 54. Barnesy looked okay yesterday, but if he's not going to play, that's the preseason game, if he's not going to play at point guard when Dennis Schroeder is going to start, that big assists upside bump doesn't come. He's considered a great defender. He has really poor defensive stats. He's a bad shooter from both the field and from the free throw line. He's going to see an increase in usage. I've got no question about that. I think he's going to be a little bit better than last season. But 44, no. 54 is not, I'm just not that into it. I've got him more in the 70 mark. Around there. And then a guy that is relatively similar to Barnes, except this guy actually generates assists. That's Josh Giddey. He's got an ADP of 59 with an X rank of 62. I like Giddey a lot. Last season, as a rookie, I was big on drafting him. Last season, I was pretty into drafting him. But it's come in too much. With the addition of Chet Holmgren, with second-year Jalen Williams, does Giddey actually take steps forward? Does he cede usage to those guys? Probably. Does he improve defensive stats or become a good free throw shooter? I have my doubts. This ranking in ADP suggests or implores to us that he needs to take big steps forward. Now, I can't say that he's 20 anymore because he turned 21 yesterday. I still really like him, and I think he's at worst a top 10 passer in the NBA. But I think taking Giddey around this mark, 59, I think he's more of a 70s guy. But again, assists can become rare. But he's got that weird thing where you're getting assists from him, but no steals, bad free throws, and bad threes. And that works for some builds, and for others, it's a disaster. Just as a general rule, I don't like Josh Giddey in this zone. I also don't like Brook Lopez with an ADP of 66 and an X rank of 70. Was Lopez hugely surprising last season? Of course he was. Like, no one thought that was going to happen. The bloke was 34 coming off back surgery. But circumstances are very different. Chris Middleton didn't play at all last season. Lopez saw his blocks go to a career high. We saw his efficiency up and his usage was up. And now, he's the fourth offensive option. He's 35. Is health the risk? Does he play 30 minutes under Adrian Griffin? Maybe he plays 35 under Adrian Griffin. I don't know. But I don't want to take that risk at 66. If he falls to the 80s, I'm okay with it. But he's absolutely not locked in at 2 blocks a game. The value of blocks this season is decreased because there are more shot blockers around, playing bigger minutes. Dan Gafford's already dropping huge blocks in that Wizards game in the first half. I think he had 5. Mark Williams had 2 blocks and a half. Victor and Chet are playing. There's more blocks around. So the guys who are outlier blocks players aren't as outlier anymore. I just don't want to do it on a 35-year-old at the start of a standard round 6 with so many negative factors against him. And then, this is how you know that I'm not biased, and I don't hate Siakam, and I don't hate Vooch, and I don't hate Giddey, and I don't hate Barnes, and I don't hate Toronto, because I've got Derek White as a bust. And you'll all be here ready to tell me, Josh, you jerk off Derek White to Built Bars every day. Cool. I may have in the past, but things have soured. He's got an ADP of 75 and an X rank of 81. Derek White may start in Boston, but he also might not. And even if he does start, because if he does start, he is 100% the 5th option in that starting lineup. And you could have offset that if he was going to be the guy generating all of the offense, but he won't. Because Drew Holiday will be the point guard, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will have the ball in their hands. And Derek White's a very good defensive player, sure. But ADP 75, X rank 81, hasn't adjusted enough, needs to be around 100. They are very thin. I'll grant you that. So if someone goes down, White's Way can come up. I probably think he needs 2 guys to go down to really jump up and get close to that number. And that's just probably not the way I want to approach it. Today's episode is brought to you by the Jase case. Jase Medical, founded by doctors, recommended by doctors, is the Jase case is a case 5 antibiotics. It's disaster preparedness, basically. And I want you to have this, but I want you to never use it. Straightforward. Why would I want you to be in a situation where your life depends on getting antibiotics and you can't see medical care? But that's where Jase case comes in. You fill out a form online, you talk to their doctors, the pharmacy's involved in the delivery supply chain. You can talk online and with these doctors when needed about the treatment. But if you're in a situation where there is no healthcare for you, your road is cut off by an earthquake, you've been flooded out, you've got something, your house has collapsed, sliced your arm, infections developed, you can't leave. You've got to have these on hand, otherwise, who knows, man. And being able to prepare yourself and your family for worst case scenarios is just something that gives you peace of mind. And you can get the Jase case with these 5 antibiotics for $20 off at Jase Medical by using the code LOCKEDON at checkout, jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com. All right, let us move into the next group of Yahoo guys. I always start these shows off really slow because I'm always trying to provide evidence or information or reasoning or logic, or some might say lack of logic behind it all. That's what happens. Let's go back to Yahoo. Some more Yahoo busts. A lot of these names, if you've been watching this show for a while, you'll know, right? CJ McCollum at 82 with an X rank of 83. Zion's actually tearing it up at the moment at halftime. Hope he's not injured in the second half. He's tearing it up. CJ is going to be in a situation again where he's not going to be the primary ball handler. It's going to be Zion and Ingram. He's not going to be the number 1 offensive guy or number 2. That's those other 2. He's had a real weird lack of free throws, or his free throw shooting's gone in the toilet, and he doesn't get defensive stats. When you're at 100, sure, right? Getting a point guard who might get 5 assists or whatever he does, and I don't think he scores 20 a game. But people are drafting him as if he's in the same spot he's been in the last 4 years, and I don't think he is. Jalen Green has an ADP of 78 and 74, and Jalen Green's an interesting one because he could get there. He could. Probably takes him going to be a 46% shooter. but he does have very low rebounds. The difference between him and, say, Cade Cunningham, right, who you look at third-year players who suffer from field goal efficiency issues. You say, Josh, why would you think Cade's a third-rounder and Jalen's not worth it at 7-8? Well, the difference is Cade can be a 6 or 7 rebound player and a 6 or 7 assist player and a 1.3 steals player, and is an 85-plus free throw shooter. Jalen Green's like a sub-3 rebound, sub-3 assist, sub-1 steal, and like sub-78 free throw shooter. That's a lot of shit. He can improve. Do we expect all of them to improve or 3 of the 4 to improve at once? I'm all for taking Jalen Green. And again, I'm always going to couch these because you're going to come in and read bust and you go, I'm writing the names down, I'm never touching these guys. And that's a garbage way to do it. Because when you're in round 8 or round 9 or wherever it is, say round 9, and you go, man, my scoring's like, I'm teetering, I'm in the middle there. Because if you're in the bottom 2 of scoring around 9, just punt it, you're not coming back. But if you're in the middle, you're 4th, you're 5th, you go, what am I going to do here? Get him. Because he might average 24 a night. There are going to be other issues with his game, but hopefully you've got some strength in those other categories because your points have dropped a little bit, but that would mean some of those other things are more stable. So he's got value in certain situations. But as a blanket rule, taking him at 78 or an X rank of 74, it just implies that he's improving in a lot of different areas, and I'm not really sure I buy that. Budrick Hield, his X rank has dropped to 90. It was at like 76. Not far enough. He's a bench player in Indiana. Maybe he gets traded. I don't know. If he does get traded, does he play the 31, 32 minutes a night that he played last season? Also skeptical about that. I think his role, honestly, now that he's turned 50, his role is probably a 27-minute a night bench shooter. He is one of the best, let's say 4 shooters in the 5 shooters. Lillard, Clay, Steph. Right, we've got those guys. And then Luke Kennard and Buddy Hield. Michael Ponder Jr. and Desmond Bain. Let's throw them in. They're the best shooters in the NBA. Hield has got a proven track record. He just does not miss from 3, metaphorically speaking. But he doesn't do anything else. And he needs enough shots and enough minutes to justify that position, and I don't think he gets them. Jaden McDaniels, the best perimeter defender in the NBA. I know OG and Anunoby will have a discussion there, and I'm open to that discussion, but Jaden's pretty high up there. But that doesn't necessarily translate into great fantasy numbers. He's not a big steals guy. OG is. He's not a big blocks guy. He's an okay blocks guy, but he's not a big one. He's a putrid rebounder. He plays next to Towns and Gobert, so he doesn't actually get to protect the rim that much. His shooting is fine on very low volume, and he's never going to get those chances with Towns and Edwards around as well. So while he's a super valuable player, the fantasy numbers just aren't really there. And you could easily argue that an ADP of 112, who cares? An X rank of 105, you're outside the top 100, that's all right. I use my cutoff of guys who had an ADP of 120 or less, which to me is a standard 12-team league. It's not to me, according to maths. It's the first 10 rounds at your starters in a standard league. And I just don't think that taking Jaden McDaniels in round 9 to be your 9th best fantasy player has success in it. In fact, I think it's got all downside. If you get him at 150, sure, you probably get 20 to 30 spots of value right there. But at 105, you don't. And that takes me to Shaedon Sharpe, who I was interested to see what would happen with Sharpe this season. He's got an ADP of 117, an X rank of 124, so his ADP just falls in the range, but I firmly believe that he is coming off the bench for the Blazers. I don't think he's playing 33 minutes a night. It might be 29. And last season, he just couldn't do a single thing until everyone cleared out of the way. He had one of the worst assist rates you'll ever see, and with Scoot and Simons and Grant and even Ayton, was he going to do anything apart from spot up? Or have 12 minutes of running the second unit? And even then, Brogdon's there. I'm okay with Sharpe. Get him round 13, 12, whatever. But if you're taking him round 10, which again, this is a little bit of a squeeze to say, 117, that's basically the end of round 10. I get it. It's more just for me to show that I'm not sure his fantasy game is robust enough with those other factors in the way. And then the next guy we take a look at is Punch Bob. Bobby Portis, who has an ADP of 109 and an X rank of 116. If we're saying Brook Lopez is down to be the 4th offensive option on the Bucks, well, Portis is going to be the backup center, sure. The backup 4, sure. But Jay Crowder also exists. So Portis is always a great option if Lopez is out or if Giannis is out. And then if they play, he's not. And in the past, he's been okay when they've played because there hasn't been Jay Crowder around, but now there is. So, Bobby Portis 130? Cool. Round 9? Nah, no way. Not interested in it. Needs a lot to happen for him to actually get to that number, and I do not care for that. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Snap into action the NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. You just go to Futures, NFL, Super Bowl, select Miami Dolphins. You go to NFL Futures MVP, you select Tua Tagovailoa. And you go to who's going to have the #1 overall pick, and you select New England Patriots. It's so easy. You can do spreads, you can do totals, money lines, player props. It's all there over on the FanDuel app. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get your bonus bets, and that helps you kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is an official partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Long show. Let's look at some more Yahoo ones. Now, these guys that we're going to talk about here don't have ADPs and ranks that are 24 spots away from where I view them. And you'll see that I've got the ADP number highlighted. I think their ADP is wrong. Their rank is okay. And I'm going to start with the reigning Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero, who I like. Top 15 dynasty asset to me. ADP of 58. Look, if you're in a points league, he smashes that. He's a top 40 points league guy. And that's part of the problem with Yahoo, is the ADPs take into consideration everything, when this is a big difference. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be someone who tells you that Paolo Banchero is completely unrosterable in category leagues, and he was actually the 200th ranked player last season, because that just doesn't understand how the game's played. But I'm also not willing to expect him to improve steals, blocks, field goals, and free throws in one season. I'm absolutely okay around the 80 mark, expecting a big second-year jump in some efficiency. But it may not come. And when you're doing it in round 5, you've just eliminated everything. All value. I've seen him go in the 40s in category league drafts. And I do not for the life of me understand it. Now, I get it. Points, rebounds, assists are the big numbers. Points, rebounds, assists are the numbers that have the least variance on a week-to-week or game-to-game basis. If you build your team to be strong in points, rebounds, assists, you are going to have more confidence of winning points, rebounds, assists every week, because the variance of that is way less than other categories. You can look at your team and have this super strong blocks team or super strong steals team, but the variance in those numbers is so high that even if you are really, really strong, you can still lose them. Points, rebounds, assists, you've got more confidence in it. So I do get the focus on those. But I'm not doing it here. That's just too early for Paolo. Jabari Smith. ADP of 92, rank of 112. The rank of 112, good. I'm seeing that ADP 92, I'm seeing Jabari go in the 80s. Now, I could be talking out of my ass here because the Rockets game is going on at the moment. It just started. And Jabari is maybe lighting the world on fire. But Van Vliet, Green, Şengün, Brooks are all going to start, and they're all going to have the ball in their hands at times. Jabari needs to get efficient. He needs to get the steals back up from his days at Auburn. And I'm not convinced that he does it. I love him in that round 9 zone, round 10. Really, really good there. ADP 92, much like Paolo, it's taking the value out of it. Gaz Trent, 108. Come on. No. What are you doing? He's got a rank of 120, which is okay. I still think a little high. I believe Gaz is going to come off the bench behind Schroeder and Barnes. I believe Gaz is a threes and steals guy who can score with decent enough volume. But last season, once Pirtle arrived, he played like 24 minutes a night off the bench. Now, Rajakovic probably gives him a few more than that, but there's also grade A Dick there who can come in and do what Trent does maybe, but he's 5 inches taller. The benefit Trent gives you is he gives you point guard eligibility despite never passing in his life. On Yahoo, I don't know why he's listed that way. In fact, he might be actually listed that way on ESPN. By the way, ESPN double position eligibility is out now. Some players have triple. Good. I don't get it at 108 for Gaz. No idea why we're doing that. And the last one's the horse. Keldon Johnson, ADP 114. His X rank at 141 is spot on. He's not a very good category league player. He's a good point scorer who has poor field goals, free throws, steals, blocks, rebounds, assists. That, if you're counting at home, is basically everything. And somebody has to come off the bench for the Spurs. I don't know whether it's him or Sohan or Trey Jones. But what I do know is that there is a bloke by the name of Victor Wembanyama who is not going to let Keldon Johnson be the 28% usage player that he was last season. Now, that might help his efficiency numbers, but I just don't care as one of my starters. Last round player who might average 18 points, sure. I am very, very skeptical about the horse. You might have heard about my Durant ranking system. Basically, what it entails is that the way category leagues are ranked is that Z scores are probably not the best way of doing it, considering that NBA stats are not normally distributed. It's fine to look at Z scores to compare someone's blocks to another person's blocks and use that number, fine. But when we're trying to standardize it to compare across multiple categories, it runs foul. You can see Jaren Jackson pushing up so high because he had a Z score of 4.64 in the block category last season, which just isn't representative of how that carries across to every other category. So Durant aims to use power transformations on the data set to give a normal shape to the distribution to sort of make those numbers comparable across categories. It's something that I've been working on for months. We've rolled it out at Basketball Monster this season just as an alternate way to view players. And that's what I'm going to stress here. When I tell you that the guys might be busts based on the Durant system, just have it as an extra data point. Where you go, maybe, right? Because we sit there and go, well, this guy was actually, someone will tell you, you'll read it somewhere, and you'll go, well, this guy was actually 30th last season. But do you know what that means? Or you've just been told, which I've been guilty too, you've just been told that he's the 30th best player. Therefore, if someone comes and tell you he's 60th, you'll tell them that they're wrong. But there's a whole bunch of different stuff that goes into that. Category leagues are hard to pin down the value. In saying all of that, these are 7 players actually, that according to my Durant system are over 24 spots too high in both X rank and ADP on Yahoo. And the first couple, I look at them and go, oh, well, that's shocking to me. Jalen Brunson has an ADP of 37, X rank of 35. The Durant system doesn't love him. Part of it is low threes, low steals, low volume threes compared to everyone else, not a super strong rebounder. There's some issue with me and his projections for this season in terms of maybe the efficiency falls away. I don't have a problem taking Jalen Brunson in the 4th round, by the way. I'm just letting you know that maybe some of his numbers don't actually mean that he is a 3rd round or a top 35 player. I'll use De'Aaron Fox similarly here. We'll get to the other guy in a minute. Fox, ADP 39 and X rank 41. He's got some poor free throws for sure, but he's a low-volume threes guy also. He's not a super strong assist player, despite being a point guard. He's the 2nd assist player on that team behind Sabonis. He's a good scorer. I worry a little bit about, like Brunson, his field goal percentage regressing this season. Not warning you away from drafting these guys in round 3 or round 4. Just that maybe if you start to look at that ADP of Fox and Brunson, which is two apart, and go, well, I'm going to take them at 30, then maybe you might be pushing that too far, given that maybe their value doesn't actually sit where we think it sits. The one there is Walker Kessler, ADP 48, X rank 54. That's the blocks thing. He is so bad in threes, assists, steals, and free throw percentage, and he's well below average in points. He's very much a 3-category player, and the blocks number, he will lead the league in blocks, was my prediction. I don't have any problem with saying that. He's an unbelievable shot blocker. He does not win you the blocks category alone, despite, again, the guys I was arguing with on Twitter the other day. He does not. It just does not happen. He doesn't win you it alone. You probably need 2 strong shot blockers to feel confident, and then there might be 4 other teams with 2 strong shot blockers that you've got to compete against. And I've seen him go super high in drafts, and I just think that valuation of that one category brings all of the other math and all of the other rankings to make him look better than he is. Still very good. I really like Walker Kessler. Unbelievable to see a young player be an actual positive impact guy the way he was. Love it. I just don't think we're taking him round 3 or round 4. Trey Jones has an ADP of 108 with an X rank of 92. Durant doesn't love him. Part of that is some of the low threes numbers, the low steals, or lowish volume shooting as well. Clint Capella, same story as Kessler. He's ADP 77, X rank 72. I don't know what's going to happen with Capella and the starting position in Atlanta. I believe Capella will start, but I think his minutes are going to drop, and the blocks have fallen away. That to me is an obvious one. Tyus Jones, 83 and 75. Well, he's got a similar statistical profile to his brother. I just am a little bit off on him. I don't think he gets as many opportunities as some might suggest. So he is someone that I probably fade. But again, if you're looking for assists and you're in round 9 and he's there, do it. And the last one is Jonas Valanciunas, ADP 94, X rank 109. The Durant system hates him. My projections don't love him. He was coming in the same situation last season, ranked in the 60s, which was the easiest fade of all time. He's dropped way down, and I don't really think that it's come down far enough. Now let's do ESPN busts. Some of the names I've already mentioned, so I'm not going to go into those guys significantly. But DeJounte Murray with an ADP of 25 and a rank of 23 is crazy to me. He was nowhere near that last season. You could make an argument that you take him at the end of round 3. I don't think I would, but you can. But this is crazy. This is round 2. There's no way I'm taking DeJounte Murray there. His rebounds and assists fell significantly. He could see his steals jump back up, but we know that they're very hard to predict game to game and year to year. He's not a super high efficiency guy. He doesn't hit volume threes. There's no ways around 2 player. Similarly, DeMar DeRozan with an ADP of 29 and a rank of 29 is crazy. The second half of last season, when the Bulls improved, he ceded usage to Zach LaVine. And with Kobe White and Patrick Williams maybe stepping up a little bit, DeRozan old, 34, 35, around that mark, maybe he just doesn't do as much. He never hits threes. We know this. He's a pretty good assist player. I like him in the 40s or 50s. I don't like him at 29. Talked about Vooch already. He's got an ADP of 34 on ESPN. I'm just not going to do that in round 3. Scott Barnes we talked about as well, as with Josh Giddey. Giddey and Barnes are actually Giddey's higher on ESPN. Barnes is higher on Yahoo. But 52 in the ranks for Barnesy and 54 for Giddey with an ADP of 51. You know my concerns. The percentages for both guys. The maybe lack of scoring at times also. The low three-pointers doesn't sit well with me. And then Christian James McCollum's ranked even higher on ESPN. ADP 68, rank 75. I don't see that one at all. Jalen Green has an ADP of 79 on ESPN with a rank of 83. We spoke about that already. Go back and listen to the Yahoo section. Keegan Murray, what? ADP 89? Reasonable. Rank 71? You're kidding yourself. You're taking... What was he, 140th last season with a 14% usage and a team that hasn't changed? In fact, they've added forward depth. And that doesn't mean that I think Murray's going to be worse than last season. I think he's going to be better. But let's be honest, in terms of offensive hierarchy, his ceiling is the third guy. Ceiling. He still needs to jump over Barnes, Herter, and Monk to get to third. And Sasha Vezenkov's there too now. Can Murray bring defensive stats like he did at Iowa? I've got my doubts. Will he ever pass the ball? I don't think so. Will Mike Brown have more confidence in him? Probably yes. And I'm absolutely great with taking him at 100, 110, whatever. 71? No. Jaden Ivey ranked 123rd with an ADP of 117. That's not too far off, but it does look like he will come off the bench. And we saw his numbers spike towards the end of last season when Cade was out. Well, Cade's not out. Not only is Cade not out, but Asar Thompson is there. Monte Morris is there. So this is part of what I didn't really understand with Ivy last season is they benched Killian Hayes to get Jaden Ivey opportunities running as a point guard. And my thing was, hey, why don't you play him next to a point guard? Because ideally, if it works out, he has to play off Cade. And they didn't do that. And now they're playing him in a role where he's not even going to be the backup point guard? I don't know. That team is annoying. I'm not sure I'd take Ivy in the first 10 rounds. Bob Portis, I spoke about already. De'Aaron Fox has an ADP of 27. Whew, okay, that's pretty high. I just don't believe in it. Remember, ESPN, most of their mocks do push towards points, so some of the ADP numbers do get skewed there. And the same with Siakam at 30. I've already spoken about both those guys. I just have them lower than the general consensus. But you're ready to hold on to your dicks because there is a crazy one coming here. Why is Paolo Banchero's ADP 37? He's not even that good in an ESPN points league. In a category league, if you're taking Paolo at 37, you haven't lost your league, but you're pretty close to it. That's a disaster pick, I think. That is just crazy. Even the rank of 68 in category leagues expects so much improvement, and I am not for that. Scoot Henderson. Rookies are fine, at the right price. Scoot, I think he's going to be pretty negative, though, for category leagues. Will he have the ball enough with Simons and Grant? Will he shoot good percentages, either of them? Will he generate defensive stats? I don't know the answer to any of those things. And I'm definitely not drafting him at 74, hoping that it works. In the 90s, cool. Fine. Spencer Dinwiddie. Well, no. Absolutely not. ADP of 57. Come on. I know he's way better in a points league, but even that's insane. He's not going to be the primary ball handler. That looks like it's going to be Ben Simmons. His rank of 96 is actually okay. And all these ones here on ESPN are actually ones where I look at the ADP and go, your ADP's off. The ranking's not too bad. But that 57 is insane. Same as Russell Westbrook at 79. We're not doing that in a category league. In a points league, I get it. But that's part of the thing here, is that ESPN has separate rankings, but the ADPs get mushed together. So you're in a draft and you see ADP, you don't necessarily know where that comes from. Just be aware we're not taking Westbrook at 79 in a category league. Jordan Clarkson has an ADP of 103 with a ranking of 113. I thought for sure Clarkson would start, but it appears that's not the case. I'm a little confused at their strategy. At 120, sure. 103, no. And I already spoke about Keldon Johnson, but they've gone, right, ADP 88. Even in a points league, that is too high. Now, his ranking on ESPN's category ranks at 149, absolutely spot on. I think that's probably perfect. 88 is a long, long way away from that. A long way. These are ones where I think the rank is a bit off. The Bronco Jalen Williams is an ADP of 82, but a rank of 51. Do we fully believe, I'm not fully ready to trust it, but do we fully believe that gigantic efficiency with league-leading steals over the final 3 months is something we trust for a whole season? I don't believe in that. I'm not ruling it out, but if I'm going to do the balance of probabilities, I'll say he probably doesn't do that same thing again. He's a pretty good player, and he generally tends to go towards the end of round 5 in that 59 to 62 zone. But a rank of 51 just takes, I think, so much value out of him. Toby Harris, I like his ADP of 95. His rank of 69 is too high. Harris is a very mid player right across the board. When players are out, he can step up into bigger roles. But when everyone's there, he shrinks away. And I believe he was like 110th over the final 3 months of last season because those guys were healthy. Now, I've got no idea what happens with Harden and whether Harden is traded or who comes back. That could mean that Harris gets to closer to value at 69. But at this point, I'm not taking him there. Tyus Jones, I said already, like in the 80s or 90s, no worries. He's ranked at 66. That's just too high. And the Derek White one, that's insane stuff, clearly. Ranked at 60. Absolutely not. His ADP is 116, and that's maybe even a little bit low. Rank of 60, crazy. Bud Hield's ADP 102 on ESPN. Drafters, you've got that right. Rank of 77, that does need to be adjusted. And then we go lastly to how ESPN compares to Durant. And there were 4 other names that I wanted to add in here. Actually, one of them I didn't even need to because he was already discussed. Trey Jones has an ADP of 81 and ranked 91. We know that Durant doesn't like him. Same with Valanciunas and same with Brunson, who Brunson's very high, up to 26 on ESPN with a rank of 28. That's very high. And again, the Durant system pushes him down quite a bit. So I don't think I'd be super keen on going Brunson round 2, which an ADP of 26 suggests that happens sometimes. That's not one for me. But what that is, as I just move that out of the way, and which you can't see, that is the end of the show. Follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and on Spotify. And if you are here on YouTube, you thumb it up and you leave those comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.